Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? New Orleans Saints made 3 free agent acquisitions here on Thursday. 2 of them I like, 1 of them maybe not so much. Let's start with the 2 that I like. They've added Will Clapp on a 1-year deal. We all know Will Clapp's story. New Orleans guy, brother Martin, LSU, gets drafted by the Saints in the 7th round, and then signs a free agent deal, spends a couple of years in L.A. with the Chargers, with Brandon Staley, who's now the Saints defensive coordinator. This past year, Will was in Buffalo with the Bills. I like this because this is, I believe, the type of contract the New Orleans Saints need to be signing. My contention is the Saints aren't winning anything of significance. You're in a terrible salary cap situation. So start signing guys that are capable, versatile players that are affordable. Will Clapp signed a 1-year deal with the New Orleans Saints, and he is a versatile player who can play center or either guard position. Think about this past year. Eric McCoy, Lucas Patrick, Nick Saldiveri, Cesar Ruiz. It was a revolving door on your offensive line for the New Orleans Saints. On the interior, Will Clapp can play all 3 positions. That is a versatile player with starting experience, who's a veteran player who knows your organization, knows the city, of course. It's going to be a fan favorite, and is affordable. Check. Love it. Same thing I would tell you about the Devon Gottschall trade. You got a veteran player who fits what your organization needs, like position of need, and you got him affordably. Check. I like that a lot. They also added Jack Stoll. So Jack Stoll is a tight end who played for the Eagles from 2021 to 2023, then went to the Giants on their practice squad, failed to make the team, or failed to make the Giants 53, and they got signed back by the Eagles on their practice squad. So he spent this past year in Philly with Kellen Moore. So this is a tight end who is probably a guy that is going to have to fight to make the team. No guarantee that he's going to make the roster. Could very well be a practice squad guy. But it's another body at tight end. So you're talking about, you got Juwan Johnson, who you just extended. You got Taysom Hill, who's coming off injury. Foster Moreau is still there. And now you add Jack Stoll, and a young veteran player on an inexpensive contract who provides depth at that position. He'll have to work to make this roster, to make the 53, which is quite honestly unlikely, but could happen while Taysom Hill is injured. Well, I think we'll all assume Taysom's going to start the season on the PUP list because as he recovers from the knee injury. So maybe this is depth at tight end while Taysom Hill still recovers. But again, a young veteran player that's affordable. Now, maybe this also makes it less likely that you draft a guy like Tyler Warren with a loaded tight end room, okay? Now, I'm not bullish on any of the tight ends they have. Foster's been a versatile player, but the productivity hasn't been there since he's been in New Orleans. Juwan Johnson was a nice undrafted free agent find, but to offer him a 3-year, $30 million contract, I think you're overpaying for that player. But I think because you have numbers there, this probably means you're not going to be looking at Tyler Warren, number 9 in the draft. Now, if you feel like you have a transcendent player there, you could take him no matter what. I'll remind you, a year ago, the Atlanta Falcons gave Kirk Cousins a 4-year, $180 million contract. And then with the 8th pick, they took Michael Penix. And by the end of the year, Penix was starting, and Kirk Cousins is no longer in Atlanta. So you always could do whatever you want or whatever think in the draft. But if you're looking for what position of need is available at 9, it's probably not tight end anymore. I do like the familiarity with Kellen Moore. They were in Philly last year together. And aside from, Young and Reed, Chase Young and Justin Reed, you're seeing a lot of bargain shopping in free agency, which should allow you to take the best player at number 9 no matter what. And the third player that they signed on or announced here on Thursday is a familiar name. It's Isaac Yiadom his agent, AJ Vanderchuk, who's actually been a good friend of the show for a long time. The Saints have signed Isaac Yiadom back. Now, Yiadom's 29 years old. He was with the Saints in 2022 and 2023, and he ended up playing in all 17 games for the Saints, 17 games over those 2 seasons with 8 starts in 2023. Played in all 17 games in 2023 with 8 starts. Was a very good player. And they wanted to re-sign him last year, but he signed a free agent deal with San Francisco. He's a good depth piece. When he had injuries to Marshawn Lattimore, Yiadom ended up starting, if you remember 2 years ago. Well, spent this year with the 49ers, played in 17 games, the 5 starts. Here's the challenge I have with Isaac Yiadom. This is a guy that in his career has played for the Broncos, Giants, Packers, Texans, Saints, Niners, and now the Saints again. He is a journeyman. He is a journeyman that has largely been a backup. He's had spot starts here and there. He's never started more than 10 games in a year. That was the COVID year in 2020. He started 10 times. So you've got a journeyman who's pushing 30, who's never been a full-time starter, and you gave him a 3-year deal. There's only $4.5 million guaranteed on the deal, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense to invest money in future years in players that are role players for you. This is the type of thing where I look and I go, I like the player. I like the addition of the player for depth. I don't love the contract. Same thing I would say about Juwan Johnson. Same thing I would say about Justin Reed. I like the player. I don't love the contract you gave the player. Same thing I would tell you about Chase Young. And I know the feedback I'm going to get from some of you. Well, you don't want to pay anybody. What's your roster going to look like? Exactly. What is your roster going to look like? How much better are you today with Chase Young and Juwan Johnson? Oh, you mean all the same guys that you had a year ago? Are you better at safety today with Justin Reed over Will Harris? Yes, marginally. Are you better today with Isaac Yiadom as your slot over having a guy like Paulson Adebo come back? I can't say that you are. I mean, the best validation I can give you is one of the sports books today. It was sportsbetting.ag. Sportsbetting.ag updated their Super Bowl odds. Now that we're a few days into free agency, we've had the first big wave of free agent moves. The New Orleans Saints went into free agency 175-1 to win the Super Bowl. 175-1. The third worst odds. Only the Titans and the Browns, the teams picking 1 and 2 in the draft, had worse odds at 200-1 than the New Orleans Saints. That was going into free agency. Today, with all the roster moves they made, the New Orleans Saints are 175-1. Their odds have not changed a lick. But what they've done is they've mortgaged future years because they put money into future years against the cap. That's going to make it even more difficult to build a contender in future years. By the way, if you're wondering if teams that have improved their odds, Washington Commanders added Deebo Samuel and defensive line help, quarterback by Jaden Daniels. They went from 18-1 to 16-1. And the Cincinnati Bengals, Joey B, went from 20-1 to 18-1. So the top 2 teams that have improved their Super Bowl odds are the Commanders and the Bengals. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.